Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where on the new known world you are. My name is Countess Lilya Bintazir.
And I am Countess Beatrix, and welcome to another fun time with an interview with the Crown Between Two Roses.
Thank you. All right, do I call you Your Majesties, or is it Counsels?
Either one.
Either one's acceptable.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Majesties from the East, for coming to join us. We will be having an informal chat with you both. If we talk too quickly, let us know. And Beatrice is now going to just start with the acknowledgement of lands.
So, good nobles, we come here together in the spirit of fellowship, deepening of skills and sharing of knowledge. It is in this context that I, Countess Beatrix Maria Malatesta, on behalf of my kingdom, acknowledge the traditional lands of the owners on which we gather. We recognize their continuing connection to land and culture, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and the elders from other communities who may be here today. Thank you, Majesties. So excited to be having this chat with you today.
Pleasure. Absolutely. It's fantastic to be able to connect with you.
Thank you. So we usually start by asking their Majesties to basically give us a rundown of their kingdom, how long it has been established, and so forth. Your Majesties.
We are the Counsels of the East Kingdom. The East Kingdom is the second kingdom in the SCA. We run up the east coast of the United States, currently from about Delaware up through Nova Scotia. So we've got a significant portion of Canada in there as well.
Big swath of land.
You want to take the origin dates?
Well, the tiger was the June 2nd of 1968. So what I know about the origin was not the specific date the East Kingdom was created, but one of the creators was Marion Zimmer Bradley. She's a very famous author of certain books that people have probably read.
So we're going with late 60s. That's
late 60s.
Before us.
Yes, before us. Before I was born, yes.
So what is your kingdom known for across the known world?
I would have to say melee prowess and a strong presence at Pennsic. I think that Pennsic, from the view here, Pennsic is the crown jewel of our year. That's the highlight, and I feel like that's where we get the world that comes together closest to us. And I feel like when the world thinks of the East, they think of Blue Tape and Pennsic. And the thing I like about Pennsic is when I say Pennsic, I'm talking about every aspect of the society, right? Armored combat, fencing, A&S, service, socializing, it's all there. And I think that's the view of the East from the outside.
One of the things that I really enjoy about the East Kingdom is that its spirit to the SCA in creating other kingdoms. Drakenwald was once a principality of the East. Altenberg was once a principality of the East. And I'm really glad of the strides that they have made to make growth.
Atlantia too.
Atlantia, yep.
Lovely. So with a kingdom that has so much age to it, what kind of traditions do you have?
One of the small ones that I really like is at every coronation, when our royalty steps down, we read the roll of the previous monarchs of the East, which at this point is over 100.
Wow.
And so there's been a lot of creativity put into that to turn it into a chant or a song or really a celebration.
Part of the coronation, in certain coronations, there's also traditions where there's the water from basically the Kingdom of the West. And recently during our coronation, what was recently unearthed was this orb, which people don't have a specific name for. And every people that I've talked to about it, they just said it was just some orb. And so the ancient and venerable orb that I got to hold during the coronation, and just the amount of history that orb probably has is seen is probably incredible.
Yeah. But I mean, one of the things, and some of this is just talking about the number of people that stretch back decades that are still active in the East, where we're looking at people that were active 30, 40 years ago that are still here. And I think that plays a lot into kind of making those traditions feel alive and new, when it's not something we do because we do it, but there's someone there that can impart the kind of the living history of what's going on.
It's like connecting the old generations to the newer generations within the kingdom.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So you did mention your coronation in that, and
Yes.
you had a virtual coronation.
We did. We if everything had remained as expected, we would have stepped up in April, and March kind of took all that away from us. And then it was that game of kind of like hope versus reality, where we lost April and we're thinking certainly by the end of May we'll all be back together, and that didn't happen. And then we're looking at, you know, June, July, and as things are just rolling forward, it became clear that one, our predecessor, Her Majesty Marguerite, now Countess Margarita, who was doing an amazing job and was doing more than anyone could have asked, better than anyone could have asked. But it was a long time. Like, she had stepped up in October, and we were approaching the 1-year anniversary. That's a lot to ask of everyone. And so it became a question of, and thankfully we had some people in the East that were willing to facilitate a coronation that felt like a coronation and could be virtual. But to be able to schedule something that we could with confidence say we could do regardless of what else was going on.
And we built quite the storyline for the coronation. If you go to the East Kingdom YouTube channel, you'll actually see like an extended version, which brings in all the fealties from our baronies and everything else.
Oh,
So it's a really, really good thing to go watch if you got some time.
It is, and the populace by it, like, I'm sitting with, you know, a backdrop and a set behind us because we had members of the populace that bought into it. If this, so often SCA Court is live theater, right? And when you say virtual, it becomes a television show effectively. And we had people that really bought into, well, if it's going to be a television show, then let's think of it that way, and let's build the sets, and let's make it feel as magical. And it was really nice for us to have to kind of like to be able to make that commitment and then get the buy-in from the populace and get the support.
And we had a lot of good people being able to facilitate that for us. It was awesome just to see the outpouring of support.
So I know that, and I'm going to butcher your name, so I do apologize. I am no herald.
That's exactly it, right? So I'm just not to cut you off, but we're doing virtual courts. And one of the costs of that is I don't have a herald here, right? And so I don't have someone that can quietly feed me the correct pronunciation. So I've got a sheet of paper, and I'm going to try, and I'm going to get it wrong. And I know I'm going to get it wrong. And so I'm just like, with all the love in my heart, your name looks French, and I'm going to try, and then the herald's going to say it right, I promise. So butcher away, we've earned it.
Now you just so anyway, great.
So one of you has reigned a couple of times, and is this the first reign for yourself, Alberic?
It is.
It is?
It is.
So
Yeah.
this must be a very strange reign as a first reign.
First reign. Also, I've always been behind the scenes of the reign, so it's really interesting to make the transition from doing a lot of the grunt work, making sure that everything's set up right and everything, to being on stage, so to speak, and being able to present to the populace exactly what they need, and to be able to provide feedback to them in the way of awards. So I can
this
take
is
a
your
public speaking to try to facilitate that better, to be able to do interviews like we're doing this evening.
so 5 reigns. Yeah.
No,
Your
No.
Majesty.
No.
3 reigns. I thought you held up 5. I was going to say.
Oh no. It feels like 5 at this point. I don't know how many this is. No, it's 3. I did 2 reigns next door in Ethelmark with my lovely wife, and then we moved. Like you hop across that border and you're in a whole new kingdom. We didn't even change states within the United States. We moved 2 hours up the road, and it's a whole new kingdom. And so this is reign 1 for me in this kingdom, and you try and prepare yourself because it's going to be different culturally, it's going to be different people, and then you're at home.
Yeah, it's definitely not the reign I was looking forward to, but you got to run with it. You got to make it your own, and you got to be able to give off the support that your kingdom's going to need.
So who approached who about entering the crown tournament together as like a same-sex consortship?
Yeah, I'll take credit there.
You'll take.
I'll take credit there.
Yes.
So I'll expand a little bit on that story. So having done 2 reigns with my wife and we moved, as I was looking at possibly competing in a crown tournament, we moved because she got a fantastic new job. And she very honestly looked at me and she's like, I know what a reign is, and I know I don't have that time to commit right now. So I can't sign on as your consort, but I will require approval of anyone you want to fight for. And the fortunate thing is that His Majesty and I live about 3.5 miles apart from each other right now.
If that.
We're seeing each other at fighter practice every week. We're traveling to events. And I think that that's so important. Like the conversations going back and forth from events, to know that we had a similar view of the kingdom and of the direction of the SCA and what we thought would be a positive impact. And so I went to my wife and I said, listen, like, I would like to fight with Alberic. I'm looking at someone who is a peer, who's a pelican, who's service-oriented, who's served as a seneschal, who knows the East Kingdom, who's been active in the East Kingdom for 30 years, who everything that, even as a royal peer, even as I'm a new guy here, right? Like this is a partnership that we get along, we agree, but also we complement each other so well. And so it became just like that on one of those drives back from the events. Hey, would you be willing to do this? And then his immediate reaction was the smartest thing. He's like, well, let me check with my wife, right? Like let's make sure everybody else is up to the but that was a really important conversation because, again, his wife has done a tremendous amount of service in supporting reigns, but it's different when your spouse, there's a whole lot that goes into it, and the dynamic shift is different. And like just being willing to say, like, listen, you're going to say yes right now, and then it's going to happen, and we're going to need to have the conversation again. Because like the commitment to fight in Crown is no guarantee you're on the throne.
Yeah.
There was a lot of mechanics that went through his whole story. Our families have been getting together, as he said. We fight at fight practice. We have weekend dinners together. The whole family's got together. And when he approached me with the question after an event, and we talked about it, we talked about the logistics and how things were going to work and how everything was going to come together. And I think we could really make a positive influence on the East as a same-sex consorts on the thrones to basically bring out more inclusion into the East Kingdom. And to make sure that this is a safe space for everyone involved.
Yeah, inclusion had been a part of the conversation of the East for a long time, and it was really nice to see people that had been saying that it was important also follow through with the commitment and the support. And part of the conversation was, like, we're sitting here as Roman consuls. Part of it was the history aspect of the SCA to say, like, what's the style of reign? It's like, well, like the Counsels in Rome, it was two guys.
It's
it was
historic. Yeah.
it was
it's actually
too-
historic.
It was two guys that served for about a year or so, and they were elected. Like a lot of the turnover of the Roman consul fits better with the way we turn over reigns in the SCA anyway. And it was a nice, like the arm of the state, the arm of the military kind of thing. There were ways that it made sense flavor wise in addition to logistics.
And we had big plans for Penzance to play off of that. So that's something that I feel is very heart wrenching to me, saying all these other plans that kind of had to get dropped.
Yeah. So you're a fighter as well, aren't you, Your Majesty, Alberic?
That is correct. We did fight for each other in Crown Tournament. It was my first Crown Tournament that I ever fought in. Unluckily, on the draw of the MOL, we were put into the same pool to begin with. So that was an instant kind of like.
To explain a little bit, because one of the things that like lots of kingdoms do crown tournaments differently. The East Kingdom kind of traditionally has large crown tournaments.
Lots of turnout.
And one of the ways they manage that is they'll take the fighters and put them into pools that'll fight round robins that'll then feed up into the actual double elimination tournament, which I love because more fighting's better. It's always great to go to
The format was great. Don't get me wrong. The format was great, but the unlucky draw we were put into that same.
When we're in the second round robin, we're looking at each other and it's like, okay, only one of us is coming out of
Coming
this.
at us, right?
It was me.
It was, of course, it was you. Come on.
How many fighters would you average in a crown tournament then?
I think East Kingdom average it's a little lower recently.
Okay, so
40 to 60.
So right, so our crown tournaments get basically spread out through the East Kingdom. So it could be as low as about 30 to almost a high of 60 to 80 people in a crown tournament. So that's depending on where the location of it is in the kingdom. If it's like central orientated, then that's where you get the largest turnout. Then you go far north to Nova Scotia, you're going to get a little bit of lower turnout because people have to travel from our southern part, which, as His Majesty had pointed out, is like the state of Delaware. Trying to get all the way up to Nova Scotia is almost close to impossible. So
we live kind of in the middle of the kingdom, and Nova Scotia would be a
6 to 12
hour commitment to get there. And Delaware going south is probably
6 to 7.
Let's say 6. So
yeah,
like end to end, you're looking at like a 20 to 24 hour commitment to get there by car. That's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying to work that out in Australian terms. So going from
I'm just giving you hours of driving.
yeah. Well, it would be from going from Brisbane to Melbourne. That would be our equivalent.
Right.
Which is on average about an 18-hour straight through drive.
Yeah.
How far apart are your events in Australia?
So Australia is around about the same size as the US.
Yes.
And there's a larger concentration on the eastern seaboard. But to fly, we would have to fly over to Anyala, Perth, which is like going from New York to LA.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's our most western. And then we have Innisfail, which is Tasmania down the bottom. But we also have New Zealand. So
Right.
New Zealand's about a 3-hour flight. And it's quicker to get to New Zealand than it is to get to Perth from the eastern coast.
Yep.
Their
Yeah.
crowns have a lot more length to travel than we
Well,
do.
I mean, like it's just a time machine, right? Like you're going back to when like the East was responsible for Drachenball,
That's
Yep.
very true.
right? Like
But anyway,
right, like you grow, you mature, like
that was still like a 6-hour flight. That's not normal.
if my math is right, New York to LA is like a 5.5 hour flight, and
Yes.
with a layover. So you got to put in a layover there because there's not a lot of direct
They may not
flights.
have a layover. They may get a direct flight.
It's
No,
direct
I think
flights.
they have layovers.
What?
What's
They're
that?
direct flights.
Direct
Flight?
flights.
Oh, please.
We call it the milk run because you leave the East Coast at about 11 o'clock at night. Turn up the next morning with the milkman in Perth.
It's fair. Yeah.
We would call that the red eye.
The red eye. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Same thing.
We've had Easterners fly to the West Coast and win things.
Yes, we have.
So I'm gonna ask a couple of personal history questions. How did you both get started in the SCA?
You want me to start?
You can start.
I will start. I followed a girl to a college, and they were doing this funky dress-up thing that she called it, and it happened to be the SCA, and I just kind of fell in love with it. And it was nice because it wasn't that far to travel for me, and basically, after I got done with college, I came back home to the Barony of Concordia, the Snows, which is the Albany, Schenectady, Tri-City area, and kind of just stayed with it. Got involved in my local barony, fighting, service, the whole deal.
So for me, I got involved. The guy who owned my local comic book store got involved in the SCA, and I was about 17, and I tagged along with him to a fighter practice. I borrowed some armor. I had a fantastic time. I took a short break, kind of from 17 to like 19, 20. I actually found him again. I got involved again. I was having a fantastic time, and then I moved. And I moved from New York to North Carolina. And part of that move, like all of a sudden you don't know anyone. But you can go to the local SCA meeting. And that's what I did. I went to the local canton meeting. I walked in and there was a room full of people who at least I shared a common activity, a common interest with. I was going to fighter practice. They liked me because I showed up with my own armor, but didn't really know what I was doing. And that was great. I was there for like 5 or 6 years. I moved back up to New York, and now I kind of know what I'm doing, but again, I don't know anyone. And you go to the local Shire meeting, you go to the fighter practice, you make a bunch of friends. It was really funny because like my wife and I had moved up, and as we moved from an apartment to a house, we've been there for about a month, and my in-laws came to help me, and there's all these guys with trucks. They're helping us move furniture and everything. He's like, you've lived here for 3 weeks. How do you know this many people? I was like, I just went to the business meeting. I went to the fighter practice. He's like, no, but you've been here for 3 weeks. Why are these people willing to help you move? I was like, because I said there was pizza. Like it's that community that has kept us involved. And in all honesty, even moving, 2 hours, like 10 years later, moving 2 hours up the road, being much more invested, having done more things in the SCA, but still knowing that you can go to that local business meeting, you can go to that fighter practice, and even if you know no one, you're still going to dinner with these people and you're going to have a great time. And that in all honesty, that's the community that I just want to keep being a part of. And that's kind of what got me in and kept me in.
So the year I started was 1989. So if you want to do the math, it is probably a long time.
So what are your personas when you're not being the Royal Counsels?
I am a 13th century German persona, Albert von Rostock. Rostock in the 13th century-ish was like one of the first colleges up in northern Germany. So I'm kind of well educated as a persona. And what I did was, since before the SCA expanded its definition, my father was a merchant, and he sent me on a ship to England, and I became a protege to Master George Emerson True, and in his pseudo household called True Manor. He didn't want to call it a household per se because there were so many people that actually came in and out. It was wonderful instead of having being locked into certain things. So I met Mystery Illyria of Nevin, and I became her protege. And then about a year or two later, I was then elevated to the Pelican.
I'm Roman all day long. I started kind of Celtic when I moved to North Carolina, which is Atlantia, right? That's very much just like in my mind, it was the Romans showing up in Britain, right? And conscripting the local Celts into the Roman army. And that's 100% what happened to me. And I've had some fantastic influences in me that have also been those early period personas. And I've just steered into that my entire career. The clothing's comfortable.
I had to make a lot of new stuff.
I did not.
But to tie into the reign piece, Alberic was one of the first emperors of Rome, so it kind of
Nicely matched. Yeah.
So how long have you been on the thrones at the moment from when you won your crown tourney?
All right, so that's a
longer story.
Two-part question.
Two-part question. Yes.
So we won crown tournament in November of 2019. We would have stepped up in April if everything ran as normal. We would have won in November, stepped up in April, and stepped down in September. Right.
Okay.
So no, October. We would have stepped down in October. So if things were normal, we'd be getting close to the end rather than the beginning. As it stands, we just extended the time as heirs. Like super long time as heirs. Just lots of training wheels time there. We won in November, we stepped up in August, and I'm really hoping that my wife is not watching this in the other room. Because what I'm saying is, like, the end of the reign right now is kind of to be determined. I joke with her, like, I'll just throw a year out, like, so in 2035 when we step down. It's funny for me, it's not funny. It's not funny for anyone else.
Yeah, our spouses would not be happy with that at all. So I'm not really sure, and I'm sure other kingdoms have gone through it, but I think it's definitely the longest reign for Contessa Margherita in the East, being a royal.
10 months?
10 months.
10 months as queen? 10
Right.
months as queen is a lot.
Is a lot. And then us as her heirs being like one of the longest.
This is where I make the joke that we have the stamina to beat that record.
Exactly.
Like 10 months is just a starting point.
Right.
And since no one hit me with the frying pan, I think I'm okay. But so, like, we were November to August as heirs. We've been on the throne since August, and we will be on the throne probably until we can find heirs, right? Like that's the tricky variable right now.
Yeah, because I'm not really sure how well a regent would be put in.
I want heirs. I
want heirs too.
I want to turn this around. Like Australia, like what is your reign situation?
What is your reign situation? Right.
So our crown won in November and stepped up in January. And they did 3 events before everything closed down. I am current Lockhart Seneschal as well, so I work very closely with the crown. At the moment, we're hopeful that we can run crown in November, but everything is so fluid.
What is the normal turnover rate for you guys? How long is the normal reign?
2 months as Crown Prince and Princess, 6-month reigns.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So we currently have the longest reign happening.
we're about the same rain wise. You have a shorter lead up. So this is where it plays. So we go November to April, and then we'd be on the thrones from April to October, kind of thing. So
You guys are much longer because we
Yeah,
would
6
be
months is
November.
fair.
So in
Months
a first half of the year, it's November to January, then January to July.
right. So the reason for that over here, I'm going to go back to when we talked about like what is the East known for, right? The reason for that is that November to really to May is planning for Penzic. That's the negotiation. That's the setting the stage for a giant 12,000 person event kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you really need that much lead time to coordinate and make that work. Even, you know, meeting with the middle with Ethelmark at this point in February, you're still hashing things out, and there's
Getting the staff in place, getting commitments.
So as heirs, do you do a lot of admin before you step up as like crown?
Admin in the way of learning
Like-
what the job is.
Yeah, learning what the job is, and you know, like
Yeah.
doing some of the organization so that when you step up, like you have, you know, less of a commitment or more of a commitment or more of an understanding.
Well, being new to this, there was a lot of things I had to catch up on, and in the way of how the Crown looks at our laws and policies and how the Crown fits into those. As I was a local seneschal of the barony, and I read all the corporal laws and all of the our laws and policies, and then becoming an heir, I had to flip my script a little bit to see how I need to play into the game side rather than the legal side. And basically what I had to do is I had to let off the brakes and let our Kingdom Seneschal do the thing instead of me doing the thing. So that was my learning curve.
And also, like, as far as admin goes, I would say, like, for what we would call a summer rain, which would be, I'm pretty sure, a winter rain for you guys, right? That April over June, July kind of thing. You're almost setting up two very separate staffs and things, because you need a group of people that can run everything that's not Penzic, and a separate group of people that can run Penzic. And so the kind of like the admin organization is talking to the steward of the Penzic camp, making sure that that schedule's set, making sure that the field schedule's set, making sure that there are people that can support that 2 to 3 weeks kingdom commitment to Penzic, and then having a separate staff that's going to move you around the kingdom to interact with the individual communities and recognize people and really continue to keep the kingdom moving.
There's a definite infrastructure that you have to build as heirs of the East.
Sounds like a lot of work.
You hit the ground running, basically.
Well, so some of the infrastructure that we built are veterans and all the things that we had talked about. So, and it was not as hard probably as some other reigns, first time reigns, but since he's done it before, Ethelmark, of course, is part of Penzic and part of the negotiations. That kind of side was set, and then winning the crown, I basically pulled in a lot of my buddies in to go, okay, here's our first infrastructure. So we kind of had an edge, if you want to say so to speak, when we hit the ground running.
But part of that is also there's a real knowledge in the East that if you're fighting in November, you're going to be responsible for Penzic. Like that signing up to fight in that tournament, you're saying, I know if I win that Penzic is my responsibility, and I'm going to wear blue tape and be responsible for representing the Tiger, and the East wins Penzic, and I know that I'm making that commitment to the kingdom.
Fair enough.
I love the middle. I love the middle. I really do. I love Ethelmark. I think that look, I'm a sports fan, and I really think that the East and the Middle is one of the most fantastic rivalries in any level of competition, and that Pennsic is the pinnacle of anything.
Karayadok was definitely ahead of his time.
Yep.
He's the one that really created Pennsic, because he was king of the middle. He sent a letter off to the king of the East. The East didn't respond, so what does he do? He moves to the East Kingdom, becomes king of the East in response to his own challenge.
Well done. He's a forward thinker.
Talking about history, I do have a question. Where has the term Vivac come from?
That's a very good question. I don't even know the answer to that.
So I don't know. I'm going to fall back on. It feels Latin, but every time I say that, I get into an argument with someone who knows Latin that tells me I'm actually saying it wrong, because I'm saying vivat, and they're telling me I should be saying vivant.
Vivant, right?
And so I'm gonna steer heavily into that C, SCA, that C right there, that creative
piece, yes.
And I'm gonna say at this point, can we put that in the kind of like the traditional thing? Like, I don't know. Isn't that kind of the definition of tradition? I don't know why I do it anymore, but it is what we do.
And it gives you pride. Yes.
When we come in and actually say, this is what it means, because he would know what it means.
Oh, I am aware that anytime I say I don't know, there are going to be 3 people that have already sent me a message to explain what I should have known.
Which could be coming up in our chat. I don't know. We can't see the chat running on the side.
I learned that lesson all the time. Like we share.
But I don't mind saying I don't know, because there are going to be things that I don't know. So
Right.
I completely own that, and that's on me.
Yeah, no, come on. Let me put this in the same column I put my Canada faux pas in. Like the times where I make a mistake and I don't understand a significant portion of our kingdom is in another country, right? And that's, at this point in the SCA history, that's kind of unique. The same way that you guys have New Zealand, I'm sure, they're like that country to country difference creates sometimes some unawareness on our side of.
And to give some context to the whole Principality of Tiramara, their baronies are 6 hours apart.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things.
Can I say, I'm going wildly off topic. I may not even be letting them ask questions anymore. As someone who did 2 reigns in another kingdom, one of the things I was super jealous of was the way that the East came. So Canada is a crown principality of the East, which means the heirs are the prince or princess of Tiramara, which to me, like, kind of, I'm going to use England as my example here, right? Like the same way that like the heirs are of a place rather than just heirs. I love that. They have entirely separate heraldry. They get to represent a portion of the kingdom and really stand up and make sure that that division is equal, like that there's equity.
I was very, very proud to be the Prince of Tiramara and to wear their arms. They have this really cool capelet that you get to wear with the Tiramara arms on it. And before we had stopped having events, he put the Tiramara arms on his shield. And that was a really good respect to Tiramara.
But it's really, I mean, I love that because it feels so medieval to me. It feels so very authentic. And the upside is we don't have heirs. We still represent them.
We still represent them, yes. As not having. So that was kind of like way off topic from what you said the history of Vivac was, but there you go.
Well, the Vivac came about because we say huzzah.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I know on my first trip to Pennsic, it was the most weirdest thing to hear at the end of a court or for a cheer, because it's not something I'd ever heard before.
Right. We're comfortable with, because honestly, if we step sideways a little bit into Eldemir is the part of Canada that came from the mid. They say wassail.
Right.
Right. And so like even kind of like next door, we have like, I kind of take that pause Like you're in someone else's court, you take that pause, you're like, what are they gonna say? What are they gonna say? Because, and sometimes I've even, like, rain flavor has changed it.
Yeah.
But,
Wow.
so you guys are Huzzah?
Yeah. So
Is the
what is Alberic's favor?
Aha.
Do you
So
have one?
yes, I don't have one with me, I don't believe.
Yep.
But so if you're a web minister or person who can go to our page, you'll be able to bring it up with the instructions. And what it is, it's a blue favor with an argent A with a sword crossing the A. I think it's really classy.
And
It
do
is.
you give it out to specific people?
Since we're not really having events, I was able to give it out to just a few people. So only a few people have my favor at this point.
Can I say some nice things about you?
You may.
I'm gonna say some nice things about him so he doesn't have to. So and our kingdom. But one of the really cool things about the kingdom is the royalty put out a pattern for a favor, and the populace generates that favor and sends it in. And so you get a lot of kind of individual artistic takes on that favor. And there's a real connection to being able to give someone a favor that has been removed because we're separate. And so those favors are still coming in. And one of the things that I know we've committed to is, as we give out awards virtually, each one of those awards, like, we're going to mail you a scroll. There's going to be a favor in that envelope too.
Along with the medallion, in whatever order you've been inducted into.
And some of that, you can hit me if I say things you don't like. But some of that importance is kind of like that shuffle, because you don't want to make your own favor kind of thing. You want, part of that, the magic of that favor is that the consort touched it, right? Like that it passed through, and that there was a significance there. And so even
being the inspiration, it kind of makes more sense if I'm able to give it to you in person, because it means as much to me having a favor made for me and being able to give that to our populace.
And so knowing that even making the commitment to send all of the favors to us, and even if it has to be distributed kind of like through the mail, like that it's still going out, and that anybody who raises their hand.
Our staff has come up with some pretty good ideas on how to distribute these favors. And the next time we actually have our staff meeting, I'm going to get the exact wording of what they actually want me to say. And in our court on the 13th, I'm going to actually put it out to the kingdom. And
The 13th is like 2 days for us and tomorrow for them.
that is very true. So I will get with our chief of staff and get the right word.
They're living in the future.
Well, for
Yes.
us.
Yes, we are. It is Saturday.
Tomorrow's
here.
going to be a wonderful day for you both, just letting you know.
Thank you.
So what are the favors given for?
The favor is basically traditionally giving mostly to the fighters that have inspired you and to the populace that have inspired you for arts and everything like that. Since it was going to be a Pennsic year, there were a lot of favors that had already been made. So, and basically you would give them to the fighters on the field so they know that they're inspired by the crown to fight in our honor.
It is definitely a point of honor of every fighter to be carrying the consort's favor. But beyond the fighters, any member of the populace who asks for a favor will be given one. I don't, for both of your excellencies, I don't know how many favors generally go out in what's your number?
We don't give out favors as crown.
Not a tradition usually, which is why I had to ask, because for us, the crown gives favors to their royal court. So they may wear like sashes with the Queen's emblem on it, or the king's men wear certain headwear or hoods or cloaks, or depending on the theme of the reign. But when I saw it on your Facebook page, I was like, on the kingdom page, I kind of went, what is this? This looks interesting, which is why I thought I'd ask and find out a bit more. So
It's one of the traditions of the East, as you going back a few questions, that the consort of the East gives out favors, no matter if it's a winter reign or a summer reign, and it's very fashionable to be wearing the consort or queen's favor during that reign.
It sounds like kind of like our parallel to what you're doing. We absolutely would outfit His Majesty's Guard with sashes or cloaks, our attendants with hoods so that they could be recognized. But the entire populace of the kingdom, if they asked, could expect to receive a favor. And to give you kind of like an estimate number for a Pennsic reign, for a summer reign, I would anticipate upwards of 800 favors going out.
Wow. Yes.
That's like half the number of our kingdom.
huge.
Well,
So obviously making favors is connecting your kingdom online, because you're saying you're getting them in the post on a regular basis. What else are you doing to, I've seen some of your courts on the Facebook, which is lovely, and on YouTube. What else are you kind of doing to try and keep the kingdom connected through the pandemic times, I suppose?
I absolutely have to give props to our web ministry. They're the ones that really are keeping everyone together. Our A&S community is just fabulous in doing online classes and having a schedule put out for each week. You can actually attend something, and this may have been an advantage of having COVID, because this is a plus. You can actually go to other kingdoms and actually attend their classes because they're online. That's one of the great things.
But another thing that we're really trying to do is to kind of empower the individual communities. We've got our equestrian community has an event coming up where we're going to do a video presentation of an equestrian competition, and we're looking at over the winter doing some A&S competitions, and really reaching out to the communities and saying, what is it that's feasible for you to be able to do right now? And how can we support that, either by showing up or by promoting, and what's going to make, right? That's our commitment, is to say, how can your community grow during this time, and what actions can we take to support that?
Have you both found that being crowned, your perception of what being on the throne was like has been very similar, or was it a bit of a shock to both of you? Like, is it suddenly you go, wait a minute, it's not all about me, it's or did you have that idea that it wasn't about you?
So my opinion about being crowned, it's not about me at all. Okay, yeah. It is about our populace. It's about inspiring our populace and supporting our populace in what they need. It's not about what I need. It's about what they need and what support I can give them.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. I don't know. This may be the difference here, right? Because this is time 1 versus time 3. Yes. I can say, look, you don't come back for a second go around if it wasn't fun, right? And the second go around is really because there's a real joy and a high from being able to hold someone up and say, this is a fantastic person. Like, that's what it's about. And then, like, we'll go informal honesty, and I'm on my second drink kind of ego. That's and okay. I'm going to throw this back to you guys in a second. But there's an ego of hubris, of saying, I think I make good decisions, and I'm willing to continue to serve because I know some of these decisions are difficult, and I know that there's a cost to some of these decisions, and I'll own that. I'll pay that price because I trust myself to make that decision, right? Like, you've both been on the throne. Like, what was your favorite part?
Probably recognizing the goal as well.
So one of the things that I'm missing out on, and we were able to do a Regency court while we were heirs in a northern part of our kingdom. And one of the things that I'm missing out on is being able to connect to that person you're giving the award to in person. Being able to lean over and whisper in their ear, "You did such a great job. You keep it up. I'd like to see more from you." Doing it over a screen, you don't get quite the same reaction as you would in person, and to try to make that connection. So being on the throne now in this age, I'm trying to, as much as possible, make that connection through the screen. And it's difficult, but I think we'd be able to do it like 2 or 3 times with some of the stuff that we've been doing.
More than 2 or 3.
Oh,
More than 2 or 3. So I'm going to be more optimistic than His Majesty is here. All right, full disclosure. One of my favorite things, not just because it was my idea, but because it may have been my idea. But one of the things we're doing with virtual courts is some of the award stuff we're pre-recording. And the reason we're pre-recording it is because we're pulling that entire community together. Like, we're pulling that entire order together into a Zoom meeting so that when we recognize someone, there are actual people there cheering for them, welcoming them to that community. That gets kind of recorded, and then we're going to show that at a later date because editors are apparently human beings and they need more than
a week or 2 turnaround.
Yeah. But I think that part of it is having that actual interaction moment where you hear people say, yes, we wanted you to be recognized. Yes, you're part of our community. I think that's important. And I think that sometimes, like, this is our sacrifice. Like, we don't get to generate that significant emotional reaction where you look at someone and you're like, you're fantastic. But what I'm hoping is that they're still hearing, we had this happen 2 weeks ago. The Zoom meeting got full. Like, we had to expand our capacity because we went over 100 people.
We hit our top limit.
Yeah. Right. So we're at 500 people now because we're getting more than 500 people showing up. But if you hear 90, 100 people saying, like, good job, I'm hoping that's having an impact. I'm hoping that the person is hearing that not only are they deserving, but there's 100 people that took the time at home to get dressed up funny, to turn on the computer and show up to say, I also think you're a great person.
Yep. That is a
for our reign is
community.
to be able to bring that connection back.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well done. So we're going to ask you a couple of questions about Lockhart. Did you know where we were before we started asking people to join us for a chat?
I'm going to go here.
You
go. 100% yes. 100% yes, because let's be serious. Pennsic is the giant gold star on my calendar. And if you don't think I know where every single kingdom's coming from and how many people they're bringing to Pennsic, you're crazy. And personally, let me get my personally and then you can interrupt. Personally, I was knighted 12 years ago on the field at Pennsic. And I can tell you, I'm not going to tell you, but I could tell you the exact words that Sir Gregory of Lockhart told me in that vigil tent. I can tell you a story about leaving a Lockhart party with pizzas to go to the Mid-Realm camp to use those pizzas to gain entrance to take pictures on the Mid-Realm throne because we pretended we were delivering pizzas from Domino's because Lockhart wanted us to go away so much. They're like, just take the pizza and go away. And I'll wrap back around to, like, as much as the East is known for Pennsic, Pennsic is my heart and soul because I know everyone, not everyone, I don't know everyone, but I know every kingdom because every kingdom sends somebody to Pennsic. And yes, I know Lockhart because I know the small sliver of Lockhart that comes to Pennsic, and they are amazing. And so you must all be amazing, and you can now come.
Thank you, Your Majesty. I have two stories. I'll tell the second one first because it's not as impressive as the first one. So the second one is when I became protege, one of my tasks was to learn all of the arms of all of the kingdoms. So the best way to do that was to walk around Penzik and basically go to each kingdom encampment and go, okay, this is Locac, okay, this is Ethelmark, okay, this is Atlantia. So that's how I knew Locac and where Locac was, and I actually knew it included New Zealand, which was great. My first story was I was at my first Penzik. I didn't know anybody. I hardly knew some people in my barony, so I went on walkabout a lot to find out where everything was around Penzik. I was down in the bog near the classic swimming hole. If everyone knows Penzik, everyone knows where the classic swimming hole is. But that was the only swimming hole there was at that point. So I was walking around there, and I'm walking over a log on a stream, and I see this guy sitting there. And I say, "Hey, what's going on?" And he's got a beer in his hand, and it's like, "I'm just sitting here having a beer." I said, "Great, can I join you?" He goes, "Sure." So we sat down, and it turned out to be, and I can't remember his name now, and it's bad because this was many years ago, because my first Penzik was maybe 1990. So, and it turned out to be the king of Locac at that point. So he hands me a Foster's, and we have a beer. We drink the beer, we have a little chat. I go, "Great meeting you," and he says, "Great meeting you too," and I walk off.
It sounds like us to carry alcohol everywhere we go.
So before we go on, let me turn this one around. Like, for those members of Locac that don't come to Penzik, if I asked them where the east was, would they know?
50-50. 50-50, which is
They
what
would
this is.
probably say the east of the US, eastern side of the US.
Like we said, part of these interviews is to get, because we're down the other end of the world, we're trying to get our populace to kind of expand their horizons and see the other kingdoms and see how approachable the other kingdoms are, and that although there's differences in our cultures and our history, we're very much the same people, just in different parts of the world. So that's part of the reason why these are happening. So
I would say that, personal bias aside, the East Kingdom is, in my experience, the most approachable kingdom. Like, as much as we can talk about tradition and ceremony, anyone from the East, I'll blanket statement this, anyone from the East you can walk up to and they're going, like, they'll toss ceremony aside and go have a good time with you. They really will.
I know, I agree. We're a very welcoming kingdom. I hope they find us welcoming through this chat, and I really appreciate the two of you reaching out to the other kingdoms and bringing them into your homes.
thank you so much. So do you know anything else about Locac? Like our animals? Is there anything that would prevent you from coming down to visit?
There's
absolutely nothing.
the only thing that would prevent me from coming down to visit is the length of the flight. I would love to come visit Locac. It's fantastic. Your animals are weird and fantastic. I love all of them. Honestly, the smaller the land mass, the more interesting the animals. So, like, Australia's got some great animals, but New Zealand has some fantastic animals. Like, it's just the littler you are, the more the animals try to impress you.
Yeah.
Stay away from those possums in New Zealand. That's all I would recommend.
It makes good skin.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Your Majesties. Our time is up today.
It was fantastic to get to talk to you guys. This was
Excellent. Thank you
amazing.
for inviting us to be able to participate in your conversations.
Anytime. Thank you so much. We've made the known world a little bit bigger and a little bit closer at the same time because of talking to you both. And Vivac.
Huzzah!
Thank you so much, Your Majesties.
Thank you both, Your Excellencies. This was
You're welcome.
you made this easy and enjoyable. It is a pleasure to get to represent our kingdom. It is an honor to get to connect with yours. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.